Prince Harry has exposed many family secrets in new book Spare, but who does he mention the most? In his highly anticipated autobiography Spare, Harry makes allegations against a number of his relatives and speaks about his new life in California. The Duke of Sussex is well known for being a friend to the stars, so he obviously drops a lot of celebrity names in, as well as 15 mentions of his privates. Unsurprisingly, wife Meghan Markle is spoken about more than anyone else, but there are some very surprising results. Here is a look at who gets mentioned the most times by Harry in Spare. It's obviously Meghan who tops the list, and she's mostly affectionately referred to as Megs. We discover how they fell in love, their first few dates and the birth of their kids. Harry speaks about introducing his wife to various royals for the first time, her rows with family members and how they struggled in the early days. He also cheekily admits that watching his wife's suit sex scenes was a mistake and how he needed electric shock therapy to get the images out of his head. One person who doesn't come out of Spare very well is Willie, known to us as Prince William. The heir to the throne is actually only referred to as William on 9 occasions, as opposed to the 349 times he is called Willie. William allegedly pushed him to the floor during a row at his Kensington Palace home, leaving him with a ripped necklace and bruises. Harry says William and Kate encouraged him to wear a Nazi costume to a fancy dress party, which sparked outrage in 2005. The Duke discusses being told by William to pretend he didn't know him at Eton and his brother's alarming thinning hair. A lot of the book revolves around Harry's mother, who is referred to as Mummy 206 times, Mother 112 times, Mum 19 and Diana 5 times. Harry felt like a politician as he greeted members of the public in the wake of her death and walked behind her coffin. He asked a chauffeur to recreate the night his mum died and drive through the Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris. On 20th anniversary of Diana's death, Meghan kneeled and put her palms on her gravestone to ask for clarity and guidance. Harry was told he can't be buried with his late mother at her childhood home Althorpe House, and a psychic with powers told him that his mother was watching over and he was living the life she couldn't. Harry doesn't refer to King Charles as father, dad or even daddy, but instead uses pa throughout. King Charles obviously crops up a lot in the book, with Harry writing about the night his father told him that his mother had died and how he did not hug him. Harry also speaks about Charles trying to keep peace between his sons and the night he first met Meghan. Charles is said to have told his sons not to make his final years a misery and made a joke to Diana after Harry was born, saying his work was done now he had an heir and to spare. The king also reportedly jokingly questioned whether he was Harry's father and made a joke in poor taste about rumors James Hewitt is his real dad. Harry has fond memories of his grandmother, particularly at Balmoral, and refers to her as Granny. There's a funny segment about how he asked the Queen for permission to marry Meghan, and he says she stayed silent during the famous Sandringham summit. He also says he found out his grandmother had died by looking at the news online while he flew up to Balmoral. The Duke was not with Meghan because she was told not to come by Charles, and she texted him urging him to call her when the plane landed. On arriving at her deathbed, he whispered to the Queen that he hoped she would be happy. Harry's sister-in-law is mostly mentioned alongside his brother, and he discusses liking making her laugh. But then relations started to sour and he details a number of rows between Meghan and the Princess of Wales. Meghan upset Kate after she had given birth in 2018 by saying she must have baby brain because of her hormones. Harry claims Kate admitted she made Meghan cry during a row over bridesmaids' dresses before her wedding, and Charlotte burst into tears. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex were also jealous of the furnishing William and Kate had in their home and had to make do with shopping at IKEA. Harry doesn't hold back on his dislike for the other woman, aka his stepmother Camilla. Towards the start of the book, Harry explains what life was like after his mother, Princess Diana, died and how his father, King Charles, began to move on. Harry says he sensed the presence of the other woman, and that his brother, Prince William, long harbored suspicions about her which confused and tormented him. After using the phrase 4 times in half a page, Harry finally reveals that the other woman is in fact Queen Consort Camilla. Harry once pondered if she would become his wicked stepmother and says she would throw people under the bus to sit on the throne, and even turned his bedroom into her dressing room. He claims he and William begged Charles not to marry Camilla, but they said they would welcome her into the family. Mark Dyer, known in the book as Marco, was a royal aide and trusted protector of Prince Harry. Seen by the young prince as a second dad, he regularly pops up in stories during Harry's teenage years. Harry looked up to Marco as a mentor and respected him for being an extreme ginger and owning it. King Charles tasked the aide with looking after his youngest son, with Marco taking Harry to Botswana when he was a boy. The royal household sent Marco to give Harry a telling off when he was taking at Eton, and the prince hilariously revealed the story of how he lost his virginity to an older woman in a field to him. Harry's great-grandmother, the Queen Mother, is referred to as gone. The Duke remembers her growing weak and recalls the moment he discovered the Queen Mother had died in March 2002. He goes into detail about the bright and warm weather at his school in Eton when he took the dreaded phone call. But reports from the time say that the prince, who was 17 at the time, wasn't even in the UK and was away skiing in snowy Switzerland with his father and brother. A statement from the king at the time says he planned to return to the UK as soon as possible, and Harry was photographed returning back a day later. Harry's beloved grandpa is mentioned a lot in the opening chapters, with the book starting on the day of his funeral. Charles pleaded with William and Harry to stop fighting at Windsor after the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral. Harry looks back fondly on Prince Philip's icy sense of humor and how he made a joke about his beard amid a family row. Prince Harry's son may be lower down on this list than you'd imagine, but most of the book is written about the time before he became a father. While Meghan was in labor with Archie, Harry devoured an Nando's which had been brought to hospital by his bodyguards. Harry took laughing gas beside the hospital bed to calm himself, and Meghan found it amusing while bouncing on an exercise ball. Archie perfected his royal bow when he met the Queen, who was delighted at his attempt. William and Harry's former nanny Alexandra Pettifer is better known as Tiggy Legg Burke. Tiggy was the boys' favorite nanny and Charles' personal assistant from 1993 to 1999, but Harry does admit that his mother was not a fan. He believes Diana saw Tiggy as a rival and suspected she was being groomed to be her replacement. Harry also reveals that Tiggy was one of the loved ones who chastised him for doing the bombshell Oprah Winfrey interview in 2021. Harry's disgraced uncle is only mentioned a handful of times. In Spare, the Duke of Sussex comments about the Duke of York come when discussing his own security arrangements. Last year, Andrew paid millions to settle a U.S. civil case brought by his accuser Virginia Giuffre. The 62-year-old stepped down from public duties following the fallout from his disastrous BBC interview with Emily Maitlis, where he was questioned about his friendship with pedophile billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. He has always denied any allegations and has said he had no recollection of ever meeting Giuffre. Reported by Daily Mail, Harry writes about his uncle. He was embroiled in a shameful scandal, accused of the sexual assault of a young woman, and no one had so much as suggested that he lose his security. Whatever grievances people had against us, sex crimes weren't on the list. Elsewhere, Harry also says Meghan believed Andrew was the late Queen's personal assistant during their first meeting because he was carrying her handbag. Lilibet barely gets much of a mention in the book, mainly due to the fact she was born so recently. There is a dedication to the newest addition to his family, and Harry does go into detail about her birth. He says that he was the one who delivered the newborn, who was born in June 2021, and he describes how she cuddled people's shins. Harry is claiming to have a lot more material for a second book, so we can expect to hear a lot more about Lily if that is released. Buckingham and Kensington Palaces have refused to comment on the contents of the book, which hit the shelves on Tuesday. Spear has been released at all bookstores and can be bought online here. What are your thoughts on Harry's new book? Have your say in the comments section below.